Guys, welcome to a new video. So today we're going to talk about relationships and how to win in them, and a secret I have. So let's be real, guys. For most relationships in today's world, they're not working. The global divorce rate is always hovering around 50%. And even couples who stay together, how many of them actually feel free and deeply connected at the same time? So based on everything I've observed through clients and just life, my own experiences, I've seen a lot of things, right? As an astrologer, I get told everything from people. I'm convinced that everything is backwards. And I'm going to go into the astrology of it all in this video, breaking down kind of a new system through which you can have success in relationships. So, one thing is that this is very related to the age of Aquarius, which we hear a lot about, and I'll go into that and more of like the true meaning of that, and sort of how what I'm going to talk about is a new way of relating to the idea of relationships, right? And I made videos about this before, but this one's different. You'll see. So, and I do have my own name, the Aquarian relationship I've talked about. I have a video about that before that I made on here. Talked about it on my Instagram a lot, but this is about that, but also it's a kind of expanded version. So, that really quickly is the type of bond where two people can be, wildly in love, but still continue to grow as individuals, right? Not having to completely lose themselves, right? Which is very much what Aquarius is about. It's about individuation. It's about how authentic am I to myself? And we see all these people who merge, which is, I'm not saying that's bad. This is gonna work for some people, not for everyone, right? I think it's all about balance, and it's also not about just because you have this in your chart and this in your chart that you have to be this way. So you guys, this is still the intro. You guys will see. So basically I'm gonna show you the astrology and the psychology that are underneath this all. A lot of it, or some of it, I came up with today, honestly. And also, of course, the generational astrology at play. And we're gonna connect it to surrenderism. I don't know. I needed a better name for this. Sounds horrible. Surrenderism. It's like an army surrendering. But yeah, if anyone has any comments or any ideas for a better sounding philosophical system that maybe I'll write a book about, which I already have put in a ton of work, or not 10, one day. Let me know. I haven't given that any thought. But yeah, so, and then also just looking at why following the traditional model of relationships is exactly why so many people are unhappy or divorced. Look, this isn't some video where I'm going to be like, okay, only the conservative idea of getting married and having kids and blah blah blah. It's not all. It's a lot deeper than that, right? So let's get into it. Am I going to have to take timestamps? I think I am. You guys know how it is, guys. And if anyone knows any technology that I could just press a button, I don't know. I guess if I could afford high level, not editor, but like crew of people to do that. I don't know how other people do it, but I guess that probably is the editor's job. Okay, enough. So some people don't want to watch the whole video, and I'm someone who likes to build towards the climax, it sounds very sexual, of the video. But I was like, if there's a golden nugget, right, which there's going to be way more in this. You guys know, if you guys watch my videos, you guys know that I gain momentum as I'm talking, and then I'll randomly say the most important sentence of the video at 48 minutes and 22 seconds. And I wish I could have said it early in, right? But really, it's that the secret to a lasting relationship in the age of Aquarius is loving someone deeply without losing yourself, which sounds a lot like, past video or past ideas I've already spoken about. But basically, we're going to talk about strategy. We're going to talk about how to make this actually happen. different scenarios, different aspects astrologically, placements that can make it more difficult or make it more easy. And I'm back in beautiful Buenos Aires, Argentina. Puedo hablar en español si yo quiero, porque hablo español perfectamente ahora. Y es la primera vez que estoy en Latinoamérica. I was in America for 4 months. Y estoy muy, muy contento de estar aquí en Buenos Aires, la mejor ciudad del mundo. Yeah. Okay, let's get into it. So, where I have notes, guys, I actually do notes now. Where is it? Okay. So in this age of Aquarius, right? We're leaving the age of Pisces. There's an old model of love, which is about merge, jing, sacrifice, you complete me, and also a lack of boundaries and a lack of definition, right? There's this principle, this idea that I need. In psychology, we talk about. I'm not a psychologist, but I do have 2 masters. I kind of am. Am I? I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. We talk about how people with narcissistic personality disorder, or just people who are just narcissists in general, do well with people. And now I'm showing them, I'm not a psychologist, so I'm not remembering the terms exactly. Often marry people who have, what is it called? Dependence personality disorder. Hold on, let me look this up. Dependence personality disorder. Was I correct? Yeah, dependent personality disorder. Look at your boy doing it. So basically, like, what that shows is that the person who had, the dependent personality disorder person has no idea who they are, right? In a sense. I don't want to get into all this, but essentially they cling on to the person with narcissistic personality disorder, because that person has in their mind a perfect idea of who they are and what they want, and their decisiveness and their assertiveness and their confidence. Obviously it's all based on trauma and control issues and a lot of things that we're not going into, because this is not a psychology channel, although it kind of is, could be if you guys want it to be, but yeah. So basically, in this new age, we see a lot of people, whether it's on, wherever you see people talking about, have you guys noticed it? Like, people lately have been being like, I'm cool single. Like, a lot of women have been saying this. And I just haven't really seen men, and men too. Men are just not gonna post on social like, I'm okay being single. I mean, it's just, like, I'm just trying to imagine, like, one of my like dude friends, because I am a dude. I'm a normal. No, I'm not normal, but I'm a dude. A dude. I like sports. I like cats. Speaking of cats, EZME's right here. You guys are about to see a first time EZME's going to be featured in a video if she would wake up from her nap, which actually I wish I had. I have a new computer, but I wish I could show you how she's sleeping like a gopher. But no, even guys are I mean, everyone is kind of cool with being single, rather than going into some shitty relationship, essentially, right? That's been a lot of what I've heard. So let's talk about the generational disillusionment. And guys, I'm gonna have to write this down. But basically, as I said, we are moving from everything being a certain way, which is the outer planets, to complete shift, right? We're at the tail end of Neptune and Pisces. I mean, it's going to retrograde back to 29, and then it's in Aries for good. Saturn also, right? We have Uranus, which is going to next April, going to be it's already entered Gemini, but it's going to be in Gemini for good. We've had Pluto in Aquarius, which has been in there for good for a while. Did I say Neptune, Uranus? Yeah. So really, it's a complete changing of the guard. Those are the 4 outer planets that rule reality, that rule the big picture of the quality of time, right? So as Neptune moves into Aries, it's a reality check, right? The spirituality of realism, the spirituality of, because Aries is the first sign, it's about the self. And Aquarius is also about freedom, Pluto in Aquarius. So it's almost like waking up from a dream. And people are realizing that they can't lose themselves to that dream. They can't lose themselves to love and just call it divine and call it, this and that. It's not to say that these beautiful romances don't exist, but it's about more and more people waking up to the fact that your karma might be, like, I was talking to a friend about this lately, or like not too long ago. I was like, look, your karma, and people don't like to hear this, right? I was like, imagine if you were single, because she's she's basically part of my family. She's not technically, but she basically is. But I was like, imagine if in past incarnations you were always married, because she's I think she's 60, around 60 or getting there, and she has had, I don't know, I think she's ever been in a relationship, but she has, and she's the most amazing person ever, right? Like, literally unbelievable human. And like I said, she's essentially part of my family, but not technically. She's just been with my family for a really long time, and since I was a baby, and it's just like, I love her so much. So her name's EZME. She's Filipino, and yeah, she's like the best. But anyways, okay. So basically, what I was telling EZME in one of our long talks, she's a high vibe Capricorn Sun, Cancer Moon, was that typical, right? Cancer Moon, Cancer Sun. Side note: people with Cancer placements, especially Sun and Moon, when they've been hurt once in a relationship, it's really hard for them to get back with another one. Like, I've seen it over and over again, where, like, I can think of 5 people just right off the top of my head who got hurt once and have not been in a relationship in a not weird amount of time, but like, based on their circumstances. But anyways, okay. So what I was telling Amy was like, look, like, imagine like if part of your karmic lesson this lifetime was to be happy alone. And what if, like, in your last 17 lifetimes you had a relationship, you were married and all this, and it pushed you away from you understanding who you are. And she was talking about how much she loves being alone, and how, and this and that. And I was like, that's not a bad thing. You shouldn't feel bad about that. You should just follow what feels right for you. Now, and then after that, she tells me that she, by fate, like, met some guy that, and she's such a good person. She was helping this guy who, was foreign, and like, she thought like the guy could have been like a homeless person, but she still was that kind of angel. Like, she was helping him. People were like kind of being like mean to him in CVS. He couldn't speak. Like, I don't even know what happened. Basically, she helped him. He waved her outside, and it turns out this guy's like a famous, what does he do? He's a famous archaeologist from Egypt, and he's visiting LA, UCLA, which is like, that's my grandpa played football, American football there. It's my school, even though I never went there, even though I could have literally gone in like that but I used to be very stupid. But anyways, so it just turns out that she met this guy, and he's like a super nice guy. He was there for a conference, like a massive world archaeology conference at UCLA. And it's just funny how things like that happen. I'm like, and it kind of goes with the idea of not forcing things, because I had her, and then I had someone else who I'm not going to mention their name, who I love also, who is starting to embrace more of what I've told her about this idea of, and this is not the idea of the video. I didn't even know I was going to talk about this. This idea of just letting things go, letting things happen, and imagining a meditation you can do, right, is like, if you have a big fear of being single, if you're a woman and it's about like fertility, for example, and you're like, oh, I'm this age, I might not have kids, it's meditate, right? Get deep into meditation. I didn't know this was going to happen either. And when you're really, really deep, feeling your heart chakra, and that's when you can connect with your spirit guides, and you can just start talking, and really, like, you should hear either voices, or not necessarily voices, but you should be able to, like, it's like invisible voices. I don't know how to describe this. Pisces Mercury. It's like, it's like I don't know. It's clearly a transmission, but it's not like you're hearing like, dude, stop, go to the grocery store, like you're good. I don't know. You just have this sense of knowing. So, anyways, should I check my phone because it distracts me. So yeah, so with where was I? With her, so with this other person, I told her to start being more like that, because she was doing the opposite. She was pushing, dating apps, and she just garbage is what she found. But this is more about dating. But yeah, my point with that is solely fate. Any relationship worth anything is fated, and yes, there's free will within that, but when and how you meet them, just like the example I gave with her, with Emmy, whether that ends up being a friend or something that she actually pursues, like, everyone is different. Some people have their most important part of life, like, later in life. It's shown through the chart, I was just reading about this in my 18-hour, whatever it was, like, combined, it must have been longer than that, plane astro session. I think combined around 8, maybe less. No, I think 15, 16. I wrote down my story, whatever it was. I don't know, but yeah. So okay, so while Neptune is moving into Aries, Saturn, Pluto is an Aquarius, right? So this is like the collective energy, and when it comes to relationships and identity, it's more about how can we work together, and how can I get to know myself better. And I think that the people who are going to do really well are the people who are the most authentic. I think we're seeing that now with how much people are disliking inauthenticity, which we're seeing with a lot of like Hollywood stars, which really fits, not all, but a lot, which really kind of fits the old role of like I don't want to just call it like the Pluto and Capricorn, because it's happening a lot longer than that. We're talking about, age of Pisces, right? This is a way bigger cycle. So I think that the most popular people, I mean, think about streaming, right? The younger generation in streaming. These streamers, like Speed, I don't know if you guys know who he is. He's probably the most famous human in the world, honestly, right now. I mean, he's probably is the most famous human in the world. He's up there, like him or like Justin Bieber or something. I don't know. I feel like Speed, yeah, because Speed's famous in every single country. Well, I guess, okay, not like person that's like that came from nothing. Like Speed, like, he's an example, and there's a lot of streamers that they start with organic communities, but because it's not forced on you like something from Hollywood would be, people are gravitating towards that more, especially the younger generations, and it's going to keep becoming more and more like that, because that Aquarius is also about independent choice. Now, I know we're moving away from love. Let's get back to it. So Then we talk about Uranus. Uranus is also a very important outer planet, right? And it rules a lot of around change and around kind of how the world is going to be moved forward, and more rebellious energy. Anyways, there's a lot more that Uranus rules than that, but basically, like, Uranus and Taurus has kind of, I would say, shook the foundations a bit of what we value in relationships. And I think, like, it's, that's why we see more couples living apart, or even like experimenting with different ideas, different dynamics, or even just like rejecting marriage altogether. And as it enters Gemini, I've said this before. I think I have like not visions. I have I guess they're downloads. I don't like that name because I feel like people say that. It sounds kind of weird. Whatever you want to call it. I have these not random. I have these transmissions. Something comes to me and I say it, and then years later it becomes true. Like, it's happened enough now to where I have confidence. So with the Uranus and Gemini, and guys, I know this is a little bit different, sidetracking, but sexuality, right? I said this in a video I made yesterday on my IG. Like, sexuality, bisexuality, dating trans, even the whole trans energy, like, that's going to become more and more. And I know that there's people who I don't like to touch on like things that are like politically charged, like the trans stuff. Obviously, like, I'm just saying it. I'm seeing it from my perspective that Gemini is the sign that rules homosexuality, bisexuality, and different types of relationships. Like, what's it called? I literally forget this word every time I ever say it. Polyamory, but just kind of exploring new dynamics. Like, why do we have to have things be the same? So, and there's Uranus and Gemini is not. There's so much. It's like how I could like talk about it for hours. When it comes to other elements of it, not just romantic, because it's not really. That much of a romantic. I don't know. Basically what I'm saying is that it adds this all adds to the overall concoction. And when you move away from Pisces, Neptune's, Saturn's been there for a few years, Capricorn, Pluto, Taurus, Uranus, like, you're moving from like very like set in, someone who's Taurus, Capricorn, Pisces, that person is set in their way. They are not changing. Yeah, Pisces, okay, I get it, but Pisces is lacking boundaries. It's traditionalism. Taurus, Capricorn, come on. It's like moving from a world. I've said this before. That is like a Capricorn, Pisces, Taurus, to moving in a world where it's a Aquarius, Aries, and rising would be Gemini. So very chaotic, but it's gonna be fun. So yeah, and once again, like Saturn, Pisces, and moving into Aries, it's forcing people to see like what's real and what's actually emotionally sustainable. So, like I said, like, I've seen so many people talking about how they don't want relationships anymore. They just want peace. And it's not necessarily cynicism. It's just it's fatigue. It's Neptunian fatigue. We've idealized love so much for so long that reality now feels like liberation. But now, how can you have both? How can you have the same energy that you have when you're alone and in peace, if you like being alone, but still being in love and relationship? Now, there's a lot more of this. So we're really waking up from this Neptunian dream of what love should be and stepping into more of a Uranian, Aquarian reality of what it actually is. So what is that? It's an energetic exchange between two, I would say two, hopefully two. Actually, I don't know. Maybe it's 50, maybe it's 100, maybe it's relationships are going to be like you're dating 7,000 people once. I don't know. That'd be kind of interesting, right? That'd be disgusting. I just thought about the sexual parts of that whole idea. Yeah, let's stay away from that. It's like basically just an orgy in a warehouse. But yeah, so it's an energetic exchange between two evolving people, you know. So okay, so then the Uranian or Aquarius relationship, right? Seeing freedom as the new intimacy. So let me write down the time. So the Uranian relationship is not about things being cold, right? Or detached. It's about loving without having to control. And I'm still trying to write this down. Yeah, so okay, so basically the idea is that if you can hold, like I was saying, did I finish my metaphor of the meditation? Did I not finish that? I'm so sorry. God, I hate when I do that. Like, sorry. If you're able to hold, like, okay, I have to be single, or like there's a chance I might never meet anyone or never be in a relationship. I always want it. Meditate, feel into the worst case scenario. You're not manifesting it. Feel into it. Imagine a life where, which is the odds are small. It depends like where what age you're at and where you're at in life, whatever. But just feel into the worst case scenario. Really don't repress it. Feel how everything's okay, how you're still happy, how really the world is just changing, and also how you don't know the future. You're not, so live in the present. Your whole life could change. Your Uranus is about instant changes, right? So, and then also feel in, so you felt into that and you've accepted it. Not accepted it's going to happen, but you've felt into like the actual, like what would come up for you. If you get emotional, if you cry, whatever, let it out. But then you go back to the center, or then you go to the other extreme. You imagine an amazing relationship that's very grounding and that is very like kind of giving you. It's almost just like, wow, I waited for this and it was worth it, kind of. And then you go back to the middle, which is like, I'm here in the present moment, gratitude for my health, etc., and I'm open to the mystery of life, and I trust that my guides and angels and everyone watching over me, that kind of thing, right? So that's actually a psychological trick. It's a CBT method, I believe. It's a CBT method that can be used with a lot of phobias, like fear of flying, for example, right? You just imagine, whatever. I'm not gonna go into that. So, anyways, so the Uranian relationship, talked about before, the Aquarius relationship. It's based on, obviously, like kind of review I've talked about. The old system is very much kind of the traditionalism, right? We don't need to go into all that of wife at home and husband out in the world, but that still, some people still might like that, and if that's what you like this isn't for do your thing, right? If that works for you, if you're the types of people where that is ideal and that works, beautiful. I'm not saying like this is for everyone. Everyone has their own style, but basically, because if you think about it, Aquarius squares, or the 11th house, or Aquarius squares Scorpio, which is the core tension here. I was thinking about this today, right? I was like, okay, well, if Aquarius squares Scorpio, and Aquarius is about how you as a person get to understand who you are by having freedom, which, often means that you're not controlled and having to always be neck and neck tied together with someone, right? Scorpio is about in the love context, besides like the deep shadow work and deep intimacy, it's about, the two souls coming together, right? Two souls coming together and becoming one, really, right? So it's the ultimate intimacy like that. So if they square each other, that means that there's tension between those two archetypes, which is like, freedom versus fusion. And both want truth, in the sense that, one, I guess they just approach it differently. So in an age where everything is adaptability, right? I hear different people talking about like, well, like guys talking about how, it sucks like when the woman makes more than me, it's intimidating. And I don't know, right? Like, I don't know. I guess there's still a part of me as a man where I want to be the provider. Like, I wouldn't be, like, if, I would have zero problems if, let's just say, I married someone who was like princess of, I don't know, Qatar or something or whatever. That would be pretty awesome. But, or just like some Middle Eastern, whatever. I don't know. Like, I don't know why I said. Actually, I do love Middle Eastern women. They're beautiful, but I don't know why I'm talking about that. Everybody's beautiful. But yeah. So, I just, yeah, okay. My mind just went to Middle Eastern woman. Oops. So yeah. So basically, that by itself should tell you a lot, right? And the Scorpio version of love is like, if I can merge with you fully, we become one, and one is, and together it's more powerful. It's the ultimate trust and vulnerability, and we become perfect mirrors. But the Aquarius version is, if I can understand you fully, right? I respect your autonomy. And both of these crave intimacy, right? Don't think that Aquarius is just like I'm saying, like just be completely detached. It's just that one is through emotional depth and the other is through, it's an air sign. Honesty, good communication, a shared idealism around humanitarianism and bigger life picture, which, sextiles, Sagittarius, ninth house, but also both of those are very similar. But it's very much about freedom. It's almost like, by you trusting me, eighth house, Scorpio, right? Enough to have my own experiences, to be my own person, I will honor you and not cheat on you and not screw you over. And in fact, I will, when you give someone space and freedom and truly understand, understand them, or whatever I'm trying to say in my brain, it's one of the best feelings ever for someone, because someone can feel seen, for the first time. It can feel like that for many people, right? Because a lot of them can be used to this overbearing, like, oh, you talk to that person at work. Yeah. So yeah, so it's just two different ways of doing it. But I would say that in life, we're here, and the birth chart shows that we're always evolving. So someone who, so when I've seen this before, and it's different placements too. It's like, you see people who have South Node in Libra, or in the South Node in the seventh house, who have lots of, like, Pisces, Venus, Neptune in the fifth or seventh, even Pluto in the seventh, lots of Libra, lots of seventh house. You see it where there's more of a potential tendency, or like, a retrograde Venus, natal retrograde Venus, There's a lot more that I'm not gonna like say every single one. And just because you do or don't have one of these doesn't mean you're in this category. Let's be very clear about that. That you, it's more like, um, certain people. Yeah, there's just more in the chart that would indicate that potential. Um, but basically, like, there's no way like that you basically like if you have, especially like, let's say like the south node in Libra slash south node in the seventh house, or south node can, I was gonna, south node square Venus, um especially Venus. Wait, I'm talking about myself, what the fuck. So I didn't even plan. I was gonna say south node square Venus, especially if Venus is in a bad aspect, and I'm like, wait, my south node. Oh, no, no. Okay, I have a south node, north node conjunct Venus, square Pluto. So the ruler of my whatever, and I'm not a Libra south node, so who cares? Sorry guys, brain fart. Um, but anyways, yeah. So yeah. I mean, in that case, yeah. If the ruler is in a difficult position, badly aspected, whatever. But someone like that, like I said with the Emmy example, right? They would be someone who might have had like lots of past lives where they were held back by relationships, and I saw it with my mémé, my French. I'm French, by the way. If you guys didn't know, je suis français. I speak 4 languages. I'm so cool. No, but I'm literally I learned French. My dad's French. I learned French at the same time as I learned English. I went to a French school until 8th grade. Then I went to American high school. And then I left America not too far after university. Well, I went to university in London for a while. But anyways, basically, wait, hold on. Where did everything go? Why does it keep disappearing? I have notes and it just disappeared again. Yeah, okay. There it is. Yeah, so with the south node, okay, so if that is your tendency, then you could have, like, imagine like you were in relationships where you just, yeah, where your individual growth and individuation, right, the process of understanding who you are and who you are not, was stopped, was altered in those lives. And then in this life, with all those aspects I was talking about before, lots of Pisces, lots of 12th house, lots of 7th house, whatever, Neptune doing a lot of stuff, you might, lack boundaries, and that lack of boundaries might allow, lead to you having trouble making decisions, or, like, especially Libra Mars, or just the whole point is that for some people, your karma in this life, a big part of it is being single. Not necessarily being single. It's just that we've been sold that relationships is like the only thing that makes us happy. And what I'm saying is Pluto Aquarius this period is gonna show us that that's not the only thing, and that there's gonna be a different type of relationship that works. Or not Pluto Aquarius, age of Aquarius, right? It's more about fixing the world. It's more about your for some of us, right? Now, next. So basically the idea is that you can't give what you haven't cultivated in yourself, right? So there's this idea of self-ownership, of self-growth. The more I grow, if I grow more on my own, kind of like it's not, I'm not saying like never see each other, right? I'll go more into about how it would work, but you can't give what you haven't cultivated, right? I think that when two individuals are growing, have their own friend groups, have their own lives. They don't have to be so, you don't have to be like super similar, like in every way, right? It's totally fine if you guys have little things, if you guys don't like the exact, I mean, it's pretty cool if you do, but the point is that I think sometimes it's important in like let's say like in heterosexual relationships, for example, right? It's cool for the guy to have dude friends and the girl to have her girlfriends. Sometimes not for everyone. I've seen couples where it does work, but I've definitely seen like where it does work where they're just so perfect that all they need is each other. But usually, yeah, it's better to have other people. So yeah, I think like what did I write here? Yeah, so it's really just like a different form of connection. So, for example, like if you're like me, I don't believe in sleeping in the same bedrooms. I believe that the bedroom is like symbolically should represent you. And my dream scenario, I would like to get married, um, but I'm open to whatever God has planned for me. And and with past girlfriends, right? Like it's worked, and they didn't think they would like it, and then they realized you were right. I'm never gonna not have my own bedroom again. And same with bathrooms. If you can, obviously that part gets a little trickier, right? Like based on what where you live, what you can afford, etc. But and teach their own, right? Some people, and then someone might be watching this being like, oh, you don't want to ever cuddle with the person you love, and then someone else might say, well, when you actually meet that person you love, you want to be with them all the time. You actually want to sleep with them. Valid, valid, valid. And that's why I think the perfect example, the perfect situation is having your own rooms. This is kind of taking a lot of money. But then a third room where, or just having like what you basically 3 rooms, my room, or room for person A, room for person B, and then a room or a bed that they can sleep on together, right? So whatever. There's ways to figure that out. Basically, like, or just 2 rooms, and then sometimes the beds are big enough to where you can spend the room in together, and maybe it's most of the time that you sleep together. I don't know, but the point is, it's just about energetic breaks. That's the biggest thing. Is that I believe that nearly all the time humans are. I think it's already hard to deal with yourself, So dealing with another human, whew, I don't know how people do it, and just that novelty in that pink cloud period, which is Neptune, right? I'm not saying that has to keep up. I mean, it's impossible. But have you guys ever, if you guys have been in long-term relationships, which I'm sure a lot of people have you ever like been with your person for so long, and then you spent, I don't know, somehow like a month away from them or a few weeks, a long enough period of time, and then when you saw them again, it was just like amazing, So you have to be able to miss someone. But the thing is, most people, if you bring this idea up of like, hey, like, can we, like, it's not that I don't love you, it's not that it's not that you're draining me right now, it's that I just need to like collect myself and be by myself for a little bit. Like maybe I don't know, maybe you can go, like, would you mind, I don't know, you have your different situations, right? Let's say her mom lives in the same city. Like, would you like any way you could live at your mom's, or if you can afford it, you have 2 apartments. I don't know, or two residences. This is like, yeah, obviously I'm giving examples, but there's a million ways that based on your circumstances you work in this. Or like, can you maybe just, can I like have this room for this time? And I'm just like going through, yeah. And then the biggest thing is that the other person, they might say yes, but they might still hold a resentment in their head. And it can only be good if both people see it as a positive, which in my experience and that of others, sometimes takes time. But whatever, if it's worth it, it's worth it. So yeah, so like, and I've heard so many people talk about like that realization that they thought that they were afraid of love, but really it was more of a fear of losing themselves again, right? And it's not that everyone should be distant or polyamorous or whatever. Like some people are happiest in traditional structures, as I said. But the point is having that awareness internally, how you're feeling, and to consciously choose the dynamic instead of unconsciously repeating it, right? So basically, the Uranian relationship, it doesn't replace love, it upgrades it. So let's talk about like kind of more of the technical part of this, the astrological framework. So basically back with like kind of this whole seventh house versus, okay, so first let's talk about, okay, you have seventh versus first, right? Aries, Libra. If you're always defining yourself through who you're with, you lose your first house power, which the first house is you and your individuation, right? And that's Aries with Neptune and Saturn moving there. So that's why so many people feel hollow after breakups, is because they outsource their identity to the partnership, to the composite chart, right? They live. I have a video about this where you like the how you don't want to like live too much in your composite chart. So it's like, I see this a lot with Libra heavy charts, or like, like for a recent example, a seventh house moon and Pluto or Uranus, Pluto, I forget what planets, but like just how that codependency can manifest, right? So there's the whole idea is balance, right? But like healthy love doesn't mean losing yourself. It just means being able to find yourself next to someone who also is finding themselves, right? So that's the opposition between the two. Then you have the seventh versus the fourth. Seventh is square the fourth, right? Which is the emotional foundation, the fourth house, versus the relationship, the seventh house. And that kind of just shows that how we each have, with our moon sign and whatnot, an emotional foundation of what we need to feel at home, to feel happy. I just started watching baseball. I know sounds like a super American thing for me, but I actually literally never watched it. Hold on. I want to see if I can get that game on over there. It's the playoffs. I know, it's so American to me. But most baseball players are Dominican, Venezuelan, Cuban, American, obviously Americans, but the best players are Dominican. So it's very, Latino sport, Puerto Rico, whatever. But and Japan, like the best players ever is Japanese. So I like, and Korean. I like that dynamic of a sport. I don't like American football because it's only America. The sport itself is fine. It can be really, really, really. I just hate how slow it is, and I used to love it, but there's just something about it. It's so American, just how violent it is and how dramatic it is. But still a great sport, but just very slow, very, very, and very capitalistic. I mean, think about it. There's literally in a U.S. American football sidetrack broadcast. I think there's a survey that showed that only 4% of the actual, like whatever it is, 3-hour broadcast or however long, is the actual football, because it's like you have the play that lasts a few seconds, and then they're like, it was like a huge amount of it was like commercials, right? And just like what like, of course they're going to make the most money and be the most like the most profitable sport in America, unlike the real football, the best sport in the world by far. You have 45 minutes, 0 commercials, then 50 minutes of halftime. You mute that shit, and then, or if you're at the stadium, you're just kind of chilling, and then 45 more minutes plus extra time, terminando. It's the best. And there's nothing the capitalists can do about it. because either way, what are you gonna do? Put a two, whatever. Okay. So, okay, back to seventh house versus fourth house. So if your home within yourself is shaky, right? You'll build relationships that are on dependency, or does that make sense grammatically? Based on dependency, yeah. And real intimacy, I would say, begins with feeling emotionally safe within yourself first, right? And having that foundation to your life. So, following your moon sign, following the energy in your chart, overall energy. Get a birth chart reading with Jesse and Astrology.com. You can do live or pre-recorded. I just got back to Argentina, so I'm going to be back in business after 4 months. I've been really bad with answering emails and video and messages and stuff lately. But anyways, here's EZME. Come here, baby girl. Oh, you made it. You made it to a new video. Let's see what time. 51:30. I'm going to write that as a timestamp because everyone needs to know. 51:30. So we're going to ask EZME appears first time in 4 months. So we're going to ask EZME. EZME is if you guys don't know, she has an Instagram at EZME, EZME Astrology on Instagram. She has like 4,000 followers. We're going to ask her some questions. She usually meows. And usually it's with charts, actually, that she's better, and she'll touch the chart. EZME, there's people watching you right in the future. You know what the future is, right? Of course you do. You're a genius. You're a cat. So this is EZME, my little Cancer girl, who scolded me when the other cat said hi after getting back home. Both super emotional. Like said, like literally said, hi. Mika was like crying in cat, and then EZME was just in the furthest part of my apartment, just sitting like this, like literally 30 seconds plus. Did not move, not excited to see me at all. But then after a tiny bit, she was all over me. But that was, yeah, this is such a Cancer. Okay, EZME. So what do we think about this, right? Do you think that well, you're a little clingy girl. Your Venus is in Gemini, so maybe I don't know. Maybe relationships isn't your forte. Do you think that this is the way, EZME, of the future? The Aquarian relationship of two people having their own lives, but still, kind of not. Okay, this isn't working. It's more with placements, but yes, got to see EZME. Anyways, she might come back at a better time. So yeah, so as I was saying, real intimacy is when you feel safe within yourself, and when you don't require that validation from another person. So for people who, when it's very shaky, you'll look for it in a relationship, and or there could just be like the relationship versus the actual needs of one's emotional floor or home might be very different, right? So it's about finding relationships that give you that feeling of being of that person represents home for me. So let me think of an example. Yeah, so I mean, like, I don't know, like Cancer moon could over nurture, Capricorn moon could over guard, but both could learn emotional stability, from a more Saturnian standpoint, or a more proper example, it's like by doing the inner work that you need to do and figuring out like what do I need, even like from like a physical home, like I need to be like this level of cleaning, like I said with the rooms, right? But really, like I need peace. I don't like being yelled. I don't like when there's excessive yelling. I need cats in the house, right? The non-negotiables. I need cats, at least 3. Um, just all the things that allow you to succeed as a human. 10th house, right? Which I'll talk about next. If those aren't met by the relationship, well, you have to balance them out, right? And of course, compromise is a huge part of this all. So then, there's like the whole, and then you talk about, okay, well, the 7th house, these are the cardinal houses, it's, versus 10th, that's love versus purpose, right? And a lot of people trade their dharma for comfort. Now, I want to be clear that, let me think about this before I say it. Analyzing audience. Okay. Actually, I didn't really see enough about what she said. Ayesha Curry is like the wife of Stephen Curry, the like just nicest guy and like one of the best basketball players ever, best shooter of all time. Maybe I didn't see the whole thing in context, so maybe I won't speak. But it kind of like she had this. She has a few times like she had this interview. So it was actually kind of okay. We're not going to pass judgment, but this is like a perfect example of this, right? She had an interview where she got a lot of flack for it, the clip where she was on some talk show or whatever, and she was basically saying that like it came off. Maybe I don't know. Maybe in the full clip it's different. Like she was saying that she just that like because Steph Curry got so famous so fast and was so successful that it made her sacrifice her whole career, and that she had all these like dreams and aspirations, etc. But then it's like, well, you're a fucking billionaire now, and like you could start whatever business you want, and you're married to like the dude who, just happens to be the most humble and Pisces also, Pisces gang. One more point for the Pisces men, Steph Curry. He's just an amazing guy, right? Like, let's be real. She's not like Steph could have easily left her. If like a lot of guys in Steph's position would have left her. I'm just being honest. I mean, yes, it's the mother of his children, and that changes things. And Steph isn't a piece of shit, but like, let's be real, guys and girls. It's a cold world, and how do I say this? Nothing against Ayesha Curry's looks or anything. I'm just saying that there are prettier, more attractive, and even beyond that, maybe even better matches for him. But no, he never. I mean, I don't know. You'll never know. But I don't think Steph. Maybe Steph. He just doesn't seem like the type. I feel like most NBA players cheat. Most athletes do, or it's like an agreement they have. Maybe I don't know. Whatever. But yeah. So that's kind of what I'm saying is that it's tough to build purpose off someone else's stability. And that's a perfect example of how she may have started to kind of grow a resentment when she's like, okay, my husband is this, yeah, he's a superstar, but this is my life, this is my not I was gonna say my one life, but you have many lives, but like to her this is my one life. I don't know how old she is, maybe 33 or something, and she's thinking like I wanted to. It's less about money. It's more like she's saying like I wanted to. I went to school for this, and I wanted to learn about this, and I wanted to. I wanted to kind of see. I wanted to have a life outside of just taking care of the kids, even if it's in a mansion. Not that, but yeah, I think the comments are stupid because. And once again, it's out of context. Maybe there's more to it, right? But in my head, I'm just like, wait for Steph to retire, and here's Mika, my cat that fell, the love of my life. She's alive and she's still getting stronger, still limping a little bit. I love you so much, Mika. Yeah. Anyways, I just think that I don't know that it's kind of she probably should just kept that to herself or known it was going to get clipped. But I'm not going to pass judgment, and I do understand where it comes from because when you live the day to day life, even as a billionaire with money, and I know this, like you think money's going to change you, it gets really fucking boring really fucking fast. Even if you go from driving like let's say like a $20,000 car to a $300,000 car, it's still a fucking car. Within 2 or 3 years, that car that just becomes your standard, right? The things that really matter, money can't buy. I know that sounds like who hasn't said that, but it's true. Like, yes, a certain amount of money you need to survive and to have your life be less stressful and to have better experiences, etc. But like after you get past a certain point, there's actually a study that was done on that showed, I think it was like, I forget what it was. It was done in American, so I don't know how it would be in different countries, but I think it was like $90,000 a year. I forget what it was. It was like, this is the perfect amount of money for happiness, and anything over it or under it is less good. I think it was $90K a year, 80 or 90, and $80K a year in the U.S. So something like that. Anyways, but yeah, so obviously to each their own. Yeah, and I think like with the 7/10, it's once again, like you have to know yourself and know, is this life, am I just, for example, having kids just to have kids, just to follow traditions, or like, what's my purpose? Like what does my soul want, right? And does having kids and being the full-time kind of housewife, right? Or does that, or even from a male perspective too, right? Like does that get in the way? What's more important? It's just things to think about. So then there's the 8th versus 2nd, right? Last one before we move on to the final part. So, and then the 8th house we talked about, which is the merging. Well, that is opposite the 2nd house, which is self-worth, right? So, this is kind of just about how, it's like stability versus transformation, right? And kind of the idea that on one hand you can have a love that's very, very like kind of stuck together in that sense, like the full kind of whatever that I've talked about, but then it might affect your self-esteem or the sense of self for yourself, self-worth. There could be also power dynamics at play, so it's just important to kind of have that Aquarian energy, right? And like Aquarius squares Taurus, which is more important, and Scorpio. So Aquarius squares Scorpio, I already talked about, but squares Taurus because it's like Taurus in this sense is about tradition and keeping things the same and not taking risks and really, really like what's expected. So Aquarius is like, no, hell no. Aquarius is like different direction altogether. So it's not really about choosing one side. It's about integrating both. And every access in part of the chart is not about. It's about balance and harmony, right? So, okay. So when it comes to surrenderism, I would say like when you stop forcing life. Stop trying to manipulate timing, worrying about everything, saying it has to happen this way or that way. You realize that control is the biggest block to alignment, right? A big part of the surrenders in part is what I said, the example of like having that ultimate faith. I've seen people who, like I said, who met the love of their lives at 72. So the more you know that you invest in yourself, the better. Yeah, and then I think that there's a certain magnetism to, you know, just there's a certain magnetism to an individual who doesn't put relationships on a pedestal, and who has that inner peace themselves, and who has done that exercise, or who knows that they don't need that. Like, yes, I know that we need to populate the world, etc., whatever. I'm not saying don't have kids. I'm just saying that it's better to not force things with the wrong person. It's better to be alone or solo than to force things with the wrong person just because that's what you're supposed to do, right? That's what Neptune Aries will teach us. And also, I think with Pluto Aquarius, it's like the community, the world, right? Like our friendships, our groups, our causes, like those might be more important than, in the age of Aquarius, larger scale, than the obsession with love. It might become something where it's like, okay, yeah, have a relationship, but it's not, up here. It's kind of like like it's lower on the priority of the hierarchy list. And yeah, it's like so with surrender and love, everyone talks about, like, when you allow space for love to find you, it tends to just happen when you're not looking, right? Letting go is really what creates that stability. So, I can think of a million people, myself included, like when I stopped looking completely, and just didn't even care anymore. That's when it found me, right? And I could think, I'm sure everyone watching this knows. And then you can think of the opposite side, someone who's forcing it, who's, it's a Mars Venus kind of thing, right? Venus attracting, making yourself better, and attracting. But like, also, I'll take it a step further, not giving a shit. Like, I mean, maybe that's just me with my Aquarius, Mars, and Venus, but like, I'm cool. I actually want to be single right now. Like, you know, I don't know. Or at least I don't want to change what I have. But yeah, so when you stop forcing life, that's when, and you're in line with who you're supposed to be, and with that Aquarian individuation, that's when the magnetism comes, and your vibration rises. If you're living in fear, in need, I'm not complete without a relationship or something like that. So, it's not about, once again, not loving deeply. It is. It's just like being aware of how you lose yourself within that. I would say, like, with the whole winning, EZME. Winning in relationships, like that whole idea, right? Hold on, write down the time. I would say it doesn't mean keeping one alive forever. It's actually about evolution, right? And evolution of perspective, right? Evolution of your awareness, evolution of you as an individual understanding the deeper principles at play, the deeper energies at play, right? You're here at this time in exact alignment with your karma. to evolve as a soul. Remember that. So modern love isn't broken. It's in a liminal space, just like everything else is. It's transforming. And a lot of people are going through spiritual, not that you can't go on one with someone else, but sometimes a spiritual awakening is a very solo thing. Think Neptune transits. I should know all about that. And you benefit from being alone. And you'll actually be pushed. Well, yeah. So a lot of times what's done in the dark comes out later in the light, for good and for worse, right? So my experience, just talk about me for a sec because it makes sense with this. Not going to give any information, but I have had the most hardcore, still, I mean, it's just nearly over, Neptune transits for the past 3 years or so. And then Saturn this year, right? I'm talking hitting every part of my chart essentially. And my progress chart, it's getting better, right? But like it was for a moment, just like Mars, Venus, Moon, all in Pisces, and at the very end of the progress chart cycle, which I still am, which is, I'm going to offer a new reading that's just about progressed charts because I've been going crazy on those. It's stuff, guys. Look, I give so much to this channel, but there's some stuff that I can't, like. I'm not trying to be like, oh my god, like I know this stuff that like I can't tell anyone. And no, it's just like there's some stuff that like I prefer not to talk about in videos for some reason. Maybe one day I will. But with the stuff I've been like doing with the progress charts, with compatibility, like I still do give you guys a lot, but you know, book a reading. Like, I mean, that's what I do for a living. I do astrology readings for people. Anyone. Go jesse@astrology.com. Email me. You know, if you're someone who watches a lot of my stuff and has supported me through the years and finances are a bit tough, let me know. I'm a human. Talk to me. Can make something work. Right? Same with classes, one-on-one, any level. Don't be intimidated by me. I'm a Pisces. It's just Leo rising and Sag moon that makes me seem a lot more extroverted and, you know, than I am. I'm actually like very like, yep. Relaxed, chill, no drama. Yeah. And I love teaching. I love it. And I will never judge anyone. And I'll go at, you know, whatever speed is needed. That's why I only do one-on-one. But what was I just saying? Yeah, so basically I totally just lost where I was as I just went into that. Like get a reading thing. That's why I have notes. But yeah, so just this transformation. Oh yeah, I said I was gonna give my own experience. Yeah, like so through I remember now. The Neptune transits, right? Like I went through them and it pushed me to be in Argentina. I was in a relationship with someone, you know, that I love, and incredible, you know, partner, right? Who I have zero, like we still talk all the time, and you know, honestly, you never know, right? Like I'm just kind of like a crazy person these days with my, not mood swings, just Neptune, just you guys, it's draining, guys. Right now it's mostly over, but like until I'm completely out of these transits, which is only a few more months, I'm not making any big life decisions about like anything relationship involved, you know, anything that can involve other people being hurt. But it does make it amazing for astrology readings, so you guys should definitely book those. And now that I'm finally back here after 4 months, I'm in the best place to do them. So, but like, yeah, so based on like the feedback I hear, right, is it's all the same. It's like how many times do you like when I do I do compatibility readings, like we love each other but I feel suffocated, or you know he/she is perfect but I just can't be myself around them, right? These are very Aquarian growing pains, because like for the first one, we love each other but I feel suffocated. Well, then you need energetic breaks or space, or you need time. Maybe you have a lot of it doesn't matter like what your chart is really, but like you it probably is parts of your chart where you need alone time. Like for me, I'm not only a Venus and Mars and Aquarius, right, which is and a Sag moon, but I'm also a fourth house moon and an eighth house Sun and Mercury and a Pluto on the IC. Like there's nothing that I don't know. And Pluto square Venus. So you see, like it's insane. Like that's an example of a 10 out of 10 person that needs hardcore space, right? Like hardcore. And everyone, but then I know people who are not like that at all, whose charts wouldn't normally be like that, or demand space, but they still need it. So it's tough, but you know, everyone's different. And it's also about your conditioning, blah blah blah. So this era really is forcing emotional individuation. Keep my mic down here now. Actually, I should move it. Learning to love without control. Can you, yeah, and I think that's how trust is in respect is earned, right? Like with my ex, sometimes she would go out with her friends, um, like go to clubs, and just young girls having fun, right? And that sounded really creepy. Young woman having fun, and like I would just chill at home, and I knew that even if the most attractive guy in the world tried to talk to her, that she wouldn't even look at him. You know, that's what I'm talking about. Because I gave her all that space. Aquarius, I knew that the trust, Scorpio, would come. Loyalty, Scorpio, would come. See? But if I was controlling her, like, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. I mean, I don't think she would have cheated anyways. But I'm saying that, with that's more down to the character of the person, because that's when someone might become very rebellious, right? So, like I said, it's not universal. Like some people genuinely thrive in that more traditional polarity. As I said before, the man is the provider, the woman is a nurturer, and that's great, right? It's not really about the structure. It's just it's the unconsciousness of it all, right? Like any dynamic works when it's chosen consciously with awareness, right? Not just following what you're supposed to do. And I don't think it's really about so it's really not about like how everyone should be independent. It's about how everyone should be aligned to themselves, right? Because then you think of, and I don't want to get into feminism, right? Like, not that I don't just when I say I don't want to get into something, it's because I don't want to talk about something that has a political charge and have someone be like, oh, well, this means that you think this. Like, no, I don't. I am very pro woman. Duh. I'm working in astrology. So obviously, feminism has given women, freedom of choice, right? But now it's about discernment, right? Like, what is authentic to you? So basically, it's person to person, which is what Aquarius is about. And so I think, for example, it would be if it like a woman, right? Let's say like who is, who still has her passion, still has the things she loves to do, but really just loves, having that more traditional life and having the husband that takes care of business and does his thing. And even if he's not there all the time, loves being around the kids and having a more low key, chill life. If that's how she is, beautiful, right? But if that same woman then sees something like, oh, I need to go out and do this, and like, don't go against your nature is what I'm saying. And that's found in the chart, but really in your heart. But the chart can help unlock that. So book with me. Yeah, so I would say like the relationships that will last and work in this new era won't necessarily be the ones that look so perfect, but they'll be the ones that feel the most true. And you can never judge a book by its cover, right? You have to, the composite chart shows us a lot about that. So yeah, I would say that, okay, like winning in a relationship is having a relationship that works and supports your chart's evolution, right? So if it's fighting / going against your purpose, then it's going to drain you and it's going to send you, I don't want to say away from your north node, but like it's not going to help you. The north node is not all that matters in terms of like evolutionary astrology and soul growth. It's really a lot more complicated. Book a reading with Jesse Innocent Astrology at jesseinnocentastrology.com. But like it's not going to support the kind of more qualitative goals of your incarnation. But also relationships are fated, the important ones. So sometimes the bad ones are meant to happen to open things up. But I think that this new time is going to be about choices, even though that contradicts what I just said. But sometimes, karmically, we do have crossroads, right? This way or that way. So, and if that person is in harmony with you and your goals, and you vice versa to them, you grow together effortlessly. And it's also really like so it's just that idea that sometimes you have to look outside the box and understand that humans are, it's like my favorite movie, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, right? One, definitely like top 2 favorite movies. That movie essentially just talk like the idea is that no matter how much 2 people love each other, eventually they get annoyed with each other. Basically, right? Eventually, what used to be so cute and so lovable about that person, that exact same little thing they do, becomes extremely annoying. I don't know. So, yes, it's a mirror, right? So, by being able to have more openness, freedom, understanding that tradition has pushed us into a system that leads into a failure. Divorce is literally a failure. Now, it is very karmic, and sometimes it's meant to happen for growth, etc., and the kids and all that, blah, blah, blah. I get it, right? But you need to feel comfortable, right? And I think that 4th, squaring the 7th, right, is a huge part of it. And of course, this is different person to person. But yeah, like if you cannot lose yourself, you win. And I think that, like I said, that old model of love of Pisces, it just doesn't work now. Like that merging the sacrificing, you complete me. Like that's not how it is in Aquarius. Just think about how Aquarius are. Aquarius, it's like out of sight, out of mind sometimes. It's like, I'm doing my thing, and if we're not together in person, I'll look at my phone, a few times a week and answer you fully. So yeah, and like freedom and intimacy are you know, intention here, I guess you could say, but like neither should cancel the other out. So it's about interdependence, not codependence in the end, like what I'm talking about. So yeah, and like I said earlier, like you can't really build with someone else unless you build yourself up before and figure out you can't like and back to the Aisha Curry example. I think she married Steph when she was like 18 or like or maybe they were high school sweethearts, so she never really got to like experience different things, right? I understand it. I'm not just saying I'm not just saying she didn't get to experience like I guess okay. Imagine like if her example, right? Imagine if she dated someone before Steph, who was a piece of shit, cheated on her, whatever, like, and then she met Steph. Then she's gonna. I'm not saying she's taking Steph for granted, but then she's gonna because I'm sure she's heard from her friends like, how lucky she is. But like she's gonna comparing. She's gonna compare. She's gonna have more to compare it to. She's gonna have the lived experience, right? So yeah, but in the end, I think that you can't. Nothing healthy comes from being possessive and from trying to control. And the psychological intelligence of humans is evolving, right? And our interconnectedness, everything. So, um, we're gonna keep evolving as people, right? And we're gonna want relationships that are spiritually in line, not like in the sense of like two people who have similar visions for humanity. And I think that it's less about labels and more about what I just said, right? True alignment and true alignment and comfort in that feeling of like, yes, I can fully be myself with this person. I can fully grow. I feel like everything is possible when I'm around them. So much that I don't need to post on social media. Oh my God, like this relationship, blah, 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 right? And yeah, so what else? Like, yeah, I was like, don't chase, you know, don't like be authentic to yourself, get to know yourself, and be that kind of like independent, sovereign version of yourself where you can feel into the potential of you never dating or being with anyone ever again, and you're okay with it. You accept it. You see all the benefits that brings, like, right? Where because it's true, right? Seventh house opposite first house. There's some things that of being in first house that you lose seventh house. Same thing with yeah. It's just compromise. So it's all about balance, right? So I think the whole idea is that there's freedom to grow. And I forgot to mention that with my meme, I started the example, but I didn't finish it. She she's French. Um, very she's still alive. She's had Alzheimer's forever. Like for over probably 12 years. Amazing one, and another angel, right? An absolute angel. Um, and my Pepe died um, last year, like right when they were together for so long, um, and like right when like very very soon after she got like moved out of the house they've always lived in because they had to move her to like and I actually got to stay there. And like I was like I got to stay at the house when she was still there. Like little did I know that it was like the last guest before she could before that was the end. But and I got to so I got really beautiful closure with them, especially Pepe because I didn't go to his funeral because it was last year and I just couldn't make it in France and with the stuff that I had going on and stuff, right? But like I knew that in my entire family, I was the only person that had a really really good relationship with him, and that I talked to him. So to you guys, I won't sound crazy, but I literally talked to him. I was in Colombia. It was when I couldn't be here because of the noises upstairs, and I was paying 3 rents at once. It just destroyed me financially. Like the rent in Romania, the rent here, and then having to be in Colombia and Santa Marta. But yeah, so no, like I mean, I was the only one. So but yeah, as I was saying, like she is a Aquarius sun and moon, and when I heard that, everything just made sense to me because she's from a very traditional French family, and I asked, and I found out that was correct. I was like, you know, she probably had the Aquarian kind of like rebellious, thinking differently, etc. Part of her shut down at a really young age because she was very, very traditional. But also Aquarius, you know, has that Saturn co-rulership, right? So it's like, but like when I asked about that, it was like it was confirmed, you know, and that she was kind of just told, you know, woman do this, you cook, you clean, and you know the men work in the fields. It's farm. It wasn't an easy life at all, right? I'm French side is not from bourgeoisie of Paris, right? Even though they all were extremely smart, and every single one of my dad's brothers um, is successful, which is crazy because they came from not poverty, like, but like yeah, I mean they're farmers, right? Like just yeah, it's just crazy to think about. Um, yeah, all with families. One died. My favorite one died a few years ago from prostate cancer. Yeah, but that's life. It sucks. As my favorite family member. What the fuck am I saying? My favorite uncle, by far. Actually, I don't know. I like a lot of them. One's a nun also. That's pretty cool. But anyways, so yeah, so isn't that interesting, right? And that's just an example of like how, you know, and then she married my Pepe, who was a Saturn sun, or Pisces sun, conjunct Saturn. He just gave every single person shit and was so toxic to everyone besides me, because when he tried to give me shit, I just took it, and you know, I loved it. He says he was just talking, you know, just kind of talking shit, kind of getting under people's skin, and I would just send it back 2 or 3 times harder to him, and then he would just kind of have that that like grin of like, it was just sad that like, I mean, he was really toxic. I'm not gonna lie to like the people that lived closer to him, but I just wish they would have seen like how I wish I would have told them like, if Pepe says something to you, just say something witty back, and he'll shut up and he'll respect you. He's just a troll. Literally, that's. I wish there was a word that I knew in French. C'est un troll. I guess yeah, troll is troll. C'est un troll. Yeah, I wish I would have known to tell my cousins. I have a lot. My French family is like army. I wish I could just told them like, just talk shit back to him. Tell him. I don't know. Tell him the pimple. Tell him his glasses. Oh, I can't think of something now. I'm too far in this video. I was gonna say like something so stupid, like tell him that his head looks like his pimple on his forehead looks like an artichoke blossoming, but that's not good. I would have thought of something better in the moment. He just always made artichokes that were very amazing that he grew in his garden. Okay, this is when we're getting to the end of the video. So, as I said, guys, you know what it is. Seeing love as an energetic alignment instead of ownership, instead of status. That's the change. That's the secret. But the real secret is in the next video. Just joking. The real secret is that you don't need a relationship. You really don't. I made a video a while ago on Instagram called "You Need to Learn How to Date Yourself." So I made this reel a while ago, and I was in Peru. I was walking around, and I realized, and I like to quantify things and put things in numbers. I was like, if you are someone who your time alone when you're by yourself, if you were to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, um, being completely honest, and let's say you you don't like being alone, right? Let's say that it's a 4 out of 10, right? This is person A. They don't like being alone. They don't enjoy their own company. They whatever. It's a 4 out of 10. They're messy. Not that is that big of a thing. They just hate it. They're extroverts. I don't know. They're extroverts. Fuck it. There's more. They just don't like it. But then, right? Okay. So that's person A. Person B. Okay. No. Okay. Listen. Person A. So when person A were to meet someone who, let's say, is a 6 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10, and I'm not talking about looks, guys. I'm talking about the overall how they are as a person, everything combined. Like if you were to somehow there's a rating for someone, like this person is a 5 out of 10 person. This sounds like the social rating system. Anyways, um, that 5 out of 10, which is still horrible, right, is still better than the 4 out of 10. So that person's still going to potentially take on relationships like that could be very, very toxic and bad because they are not dating themselves. But person B, who has learned how to love being with in their own energy and all that, or they do naturally, or they just and let's say that their time when it's just them is like an 8 or a 9, and it's not that at that point you need someone that's a 10 out of 10 perfectionism to date, but it's more like you're not going to put up with the bullshit, right? So for that person, if someone who if that 5 out of 10 person comes along, or 6 out of 10 even, let's say they have they're extremely good looking, and they have some good things. They're but then there's huge red flags that they're controlling or manipulative and whatever things like that, red flags. Well, that person's gonna having a lot easier time saying, screw it, I'm cool on my own. So that's kind of my concept of that, right? So, yeah. So, anyways, I think, as I said, if you can stay true to your energy and to your growth and to your path, because people are asking, how to find the right person. If you can stay true to that and true to surrender and faith that you're going to experience what you're meant to experience, if you're doing the best you can, that's how you're going to meet them, if you're meant to. And maybe you're not meant to, and that's okay. That needs to be okay. But worrying about it isn't going to make it any better. So, anyways, that's it. How long? We went 141, and that might be a record. Holy shit. I hope you guys enjoyed this. As always, let me know what you thought of the video. Subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. Help me out, guys. I need to have more view hours on or don't help me out. You know what I mean? I appreciate anyone who watches my videos, and even if you're just leaving them on, or having them not leaving them on, having them on in the background or whatever. I need to get to 4,000 hours to be able to be a partner in YouTube, which I'll get to eventually. But, I know these are longer videos. They're not always like this. I wasn't planning this one to be so long. So, yeah, I just appreciate anyone who's helping me in that, subscribing, liking, and just leaving the video on for longer, because then the algorithm will show it to more people. So, anyways, gracias. Thank you. Until next time. Ciao.